evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
People think that they're on the outs because they're not always in the same room together, Maureen. That's what she would like people to believe. Like she had one or two public appearances without him, and that's what led to the divorce speculation. That's not quite it, my dear. It's what are the things? Oh, your words. It's your words that led us to believe you can't stand him.
Picture this. Barack Obama, the golden boy of politics, striding through the spotlight as if the stage itself were built for him. The latte-sipping, smooth-talking maestro who could turn policy into poetry and make a crisis sound like a campaign ad. 4 years, he seemed untouchable, the cool kid of Washington whose every one-liner drew applause and whose legacy floated above criticism like a cloud no one dared disturb. But then came Megyn Kelly and Tulsi Gabbard, two political disruptors who weren't interested in playing by the old rules or bowing to the myth of Obama's untarnished reputation. They didn't step onto the scene as respectful opponents, they stormed in like Avengers who missed the memo about protecting presidential legacies. What followed wasn't a polite debate or a cautious critique, it was a demolition so savage that even Obama's trusty teleprompter would have filed for medical leave. Blow after blow, Kelly and Gabbard stripped away the polished veneer, exposing cracks in the legacy that had been sold as flawless. And the result? Not just a political clash, but a spectacle so raw, so unfiltered, that it made traditional roast battles look like bedtime stories for children. This was more than confrontation, it was a full-scale earthquake shaking the very ground under Obama's myth, leaving the audience wondering if the era of untouchable icons had finally come to an end.
The truth is, if you add it all up, even the year, if the odds were you're going to be married to your partner for 50 years and 10 of those years could be bad, you'd
sign up for it.
You'd sign up for it.
You'd sign up for it.
Right. And that's really how it works out.
Is it, Michelle? It's not. I've been married for 17 and a half years and not one was bad. I think she and he married the wrong people.
ChatGPT said, Barack Obama has always drifted through the political cosmos with the kind of untouchable glow you'd expect from a Marvel superhero, the polished golden boy who seemed born to walk red carpets rather than the muddy trenches of governance. He didn't just arrive in Washington, he descended with the aura of a smooth-talking prophet, the kind of man who could take buzzwords like hope and change, wrap them in velvet delivery, and suddenly make politics feel like a mixtape about to drop. Every pause in his speeches was treated like scripture, every smirk like a work of art, every line like the voiceover to America's highlight reel. The media didn't just cover him, they practically canonized him, turning cable news into a 24/7 shrine of admiration where even something as ordinary as a sneeze was elevated into a poetic symbol of steady leadership. But Obama wasn't just a president. He was curated like a lifestyle brand. You didn't simply vote for him, you bought into him. He was packaged, marketed, and sold as the political iPhone, sleek, inspirational, and impossible to criticize without being told you just didn't get it. People didn't argue about policies, they debated about the vibe. Supporting him wasn't civic duty, it was cultural identity, a way of signaling sophistication, modernity, and cool. The campaign posters weren't political ads, they were fashion statements, the kind you'd hang on a dorm wall right next to a Che Guevara print. And that was the genius of Obama, he blurred the line between politician and pop icon so thoroughly that questioning him felt like bad manners, almost sacrilegious. He didn't just lead, he trended. He wasn't just commander-in-chief, he was influencer-in-chief, a walking hashtag long before hashtags were cool. 4 years, his aura shielded him from the rough edges of accountability, as if charisma itself were a policy achievement. He was untouchable not because of what he did, but because of how perfectly he sold the idea of himself.
Lo and behold, what happened next was, we're going to do a new assessment and we're going to see what Russian interference was. Immediately, the media started reporting, it was huge. They interfered in everything. They tried to help Trump. So the answer to the homework was delivered to the media before the homework had been done. And then when the homework was officially delivered in January of 17, to Obama, shock of all shocks, it said what Obama wanted it to say, which was Russia, Russia, Russia. They wanted to help Trump. And off we were on the collusion allegations that would dominate the Trump first term. So now you have spoken to a whistleblower still inside the CIA who worked on that 17 ICA. And this person is telling us what?
ChatGPT said, "If you're enjoying this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon, because trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next." You see, every shiny statue eventually meets a hammer, and in Barack Obama's case, not one but two hammers came crashing down in the form of Megyn Kelly and Tulsi Gabbard. 4 years, Obama's carefully polished image had been presented as untouchable, the Mona Lisa of politics. Perfectly framed, meticulously guarded, and admired from every angle. The media treated him like a masterpiece you weren't allowed to critique, only to admire. But Kelly and Gabbard weren't tourists snapping pictures in awe. They were the intruders at the Louvre who showed up with spray paint, ladders, and zero patience for the velvet ropes of polite applause. They didn't just scuff the frame, they attacked the canvas itself. Blow by blow, they tore away at the illusion, stripping down the myth that had been sold for over a decade. Obama's golden boy aura, once so blinding it made critics look like bitter outsiders, suddenly flickered and dimmed. The cool, untouchable leader was revealed to be just another man whose rise had been fueled by branding, stagecraft, and some very expensive PR campaigns. What once looked like hope now looked like spin. What once sounded like destiny now sounded suspiciously like marketing copy. And that's the thing about myths. They only hold power so long as no one dares to challenge them. Kelly and Gabbard didn't just challenge, they bulldozed. They asked the questions the media had avoided, pointed to the cracks everyone ignored, and dragged the conversation into places the Obama machine had worked tirelessly to keep off limits. Suddenly, the man who seemed to float above politics was being pulled back down to earth, forced to stand not as a cultural icon, not as a lifestyle brand, but as a politician who could no longer hide behind charisma alone. The golden glow faded, and in its place stood something far more ordinary and far more vulnerable.
Of this are far-reaching and have to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. It has to do with an outgoing president taking action to manufacture intelligence to undermine and usurp the will of the American people in that election and launch what would be a years-long coup against the incoming president of the United States,
Donald. Megyn Kelly was the first to sharpen her knife, and the thing about Kelly is, she doesn't swing wildly. She's not a sledgehammer smashing everything in sight. She's a scalpel, the kind of blade that cuts so clean you don't even realize you're bleeding until you look down. Her smile is disarming, almost friendly, but anyone who's been in that interview chair knows it's just camouflage for what's coming next. Kelly has this unnerving ability to dismantle someone's credibility without ever raising her voice, like a surgeon performing open-heart surgery under the bright lights of live television. She doesn't need theatrics. She doesn't need to shout. Her power comes from precision, timing, and the sheer fearlessness of asking the one question you hoped she wouldn't. 4 years, politicians, CEOs, and media giants have tried to outmaneuver her, only to find themselves cornered and exposed by a woman who doesn't blink when the stakes are highest. And Barack Obama? He was no exception. The media spent years wrapping him in an aura of invincibility, treating his every word like scripture and his every move like destiny. But Kelly wasn't buying the halo. She stripped it off with a kind of cold, surgical efficiency, dragging his carefully manufactured image through the mud for everyone to see. She didn't just challenge him, she peeled back the glossy PR coat of paint and made the world stare at the cracks underneath. Listening to her podcast, you can hear it in her tone, calm, relentless, unshaken. It's not anger. It's not even disdain. It's the steady voice of someone who knows that power only works when people are too afraid to question it. And Megyn Kelly has never been afraid. She's built her entire career on walking straight into the lion's den, locking eyes with the beast, and daring it to roar. So when she turned that scalpel on Obama, the man who once floated above criticism like he was untouchable, it wasn't just another media takedown. It was a reminder that even the most polished icons bleed when cut deep enough.
More fuel on the fire that there's a potential maybe a divorce or some sort of rockiness going on in the Obamas relationship. They both posted these mirrored, very choreographed Valentine's Day messages on X, but he was just seen at an LA, the basketball team, the Clippers, thank you, game without her. And then, on Tuesday, he was spotted eating out at a fancy dinner in Sherman Oaks with his.
What makes Megyn Kelly especially dangerous is that she doesn't just throw around opinions, she comes armed with receipts. She's watched for years as the media tripped over itself to shield Obama from tough scrutiny, dressing up puff pieces as journalism and treating criticism like heresy. While most reporters were busy scribbling love letters disguised as op-eds, Kelly stood there like the teacher who's had enough of everyone's lazy homework. Imagine a classroom where every student turns in the same glowing essay about how flawless the king is, and then Megyn drops a 5-page report exposing the king's tax fraud, complete with footnotes and a bibliography. That's her energy, calm, prepared, relentless, and absolutely unafraid to make the golden boy look ordinary, or worse, fraudulent. And just when you think Obama might have a chance to recover from that scalpel cut, enter Tulsi Gabbard. If Kelly is the precise incision, Tulsi is the blunt force hammer. She's the politician who doesn't care whose feelings get bruised as long as the truth limps out of the building alive. Tulsi doesn't toss out clever one-liners or snarky asides, she detonates entire talking points. She's the kind of figure who can turn a polite dinner party into a courtroom cross-examination before the appetizers even hit the table. And unlike most politicians who build their careers sitting in cushy chairs, insulated by advisors and talking points, Tulsi actually lived through the policies she critiques. So when she talks about foreign policy disasters or wars dressed up as humanitarian crusades, she isn't speculating from a safe distance, she's pointing at the scars and saying, yeah, I was there. I saw what your hope and change actually cost. Every word lands heavier because it's not theory, it's testimony. That's why she hits differently. She's not playing to an audience. She's dragging the receipts out of the rubble and slamming them on the table, daring anyone, including Obama himself, to deny the reality she lived through. And when Megyn's scalpel precision combines with Tulsi's hammer strike, the result isn't just criticism, it's demolition.
Distraction. What is your response to the former president?
They're doing the exact same thing that people like Senator Warner are doing. He was the head of the Intelligence Committee at the time. They would have to admit and actually address the details of their complicity in this, or their absolute failure in conducting the most basic responsibilities of, again, asking, where is this intelligence coming from? What are the sources? What proof do you have of these, of this high confidence assessment? Remember, John Brennan and James Clapper at the time assessed, and James Comey, with high confidence that Russia aspired to help Donald Trump win the election in 2016.
And that's where the cracks in Obama's carefully painted image really start to split open. 4 years, he was framed as the president who ended wars, healed racial divides, and floated above Washington corruption like some kind of political messiah. But once you start scratching beneath the glossy speeches and the celebrity aura, the story looks far less like a revolution and far more like business as usual, just with better lighting and a cooler soundtrack. He campaigned like he was going to tuck the war machine into bed, kiss it goodnight, and retire it once and for all. Instead, he swapped out the batteries, upgraded the software, and unleashed it with a smile. Drone strikes didn't just continue, they skyrocketed. Civilian casualties became background noise, whitewashed under flowery speeches about democracy and humanitarian ideals. It was the foreign policy equivalent of the Academy handing him an Oscar for a film he hadn't shot yet, only for him to spend the next 8 years accidentally burning down half the set. On the home front, the myth grew even larger. Obama wasn't just hailed as a president, he was sold as a symbol, the living proof that America had finally healed its deepest wound. His election was treated as the dawn of a new era, the closing chapter on centuries of racial division. Anchors wept on live television. Op-eds declared history itself had turned a page. People believed his very existence in the Oval Office would do what legislation and activism had failed to accomplish. But instead of healing, the divisions hardened. Instead of unity, new fractures emerged. The hope that his presence alone could dissolve centuries of conflict was a dream that evaporated the moment reality set in. And while the glow of his image stayed bright on magazine covers and late-night interviews, the country underneath kept boiling. The man who was supposed to embody a cure had, in many ways, become another chapter in the same unresolved story.
Obama's still at it. And in this particular soundbite, she's got thoughts on relationships. Listen here.
Relationships are long and there are also ebbs and flows, right? So I think sometimes people who date don't realize that, you know, in long-term relationships, you're gonna have deep dips. And you're going to have
a bad year.
You're going to have I tell people, and folks think that this is harsh. It's like, you're going to have a bad decade.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've been married to my husband for 30 plus years. I mean, the truth is, if you add it all up, even the year, if the odds were you're going to be married to your partner for 50 years and 10 of those years could be bad, you know, you'd
sign up for it.
You'd sign up for it.
You'd sign up for it.
You know,
Right.
and that's really how it works out.
Is